Okay, so welcome back to a new episode of our MS EMS podcast recording. I think it's up on episode 8. I couldn't even remember, but I think
Yeah,
it's episode 8.
absolutely.
And today we have the usual suspects. We have Lewis. Hey, Lewis.
Hello.
And we have Eric. Hey, Eric. And we have
Hey.
Martin.
Hey.
And first up is going to be, to put on the spotlight, it's going to be you, Eric. Did you have a good New Year?
Yeah, it's been good so far. Aside from last week, I was in a meeting and my wife comes over and lets me know that someone drove into my parked car out in front of the house. That's just a catalyst for getting a new vehicle, I suppose. But aside from that, the year's been going good so far.
So new car and new year. That's
Yeah.
that's cool. And did you also have some great Christmases gifts, or yeah, we also had Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas, I had COVID, so that wasn't
Oh.
fun. But it's just a series of events over the past couple months for me. But it was good overall. Kids enjoyed it. Had some time off, so can't complain, I suppose. I'm still here, so.
That's awesome. And what about you, Martin? You had a good New Year?
Well, I'm kind of in the same boat that he is because I usually have my holiday before Christmas, somewhere before Christmas, and this year same as him. We got COVID a day before the trip,
Oh no.
so we had to cancel that. Luckily, I have insurance, so I got the money back just a couple of days ago. But yeah, really not a great time. Christmas, everything was fine, but getting to enjoy myself a little less. Otherwise, again, just like Eric, I can't complain. Really, I had 4 weeks off work, so I'm kind of back brain-wise, but yeah, I would really love my holiday.
Holiday is important, right? Yeah.
At least once a year, yeah, because we usually don't do more than once a year.
And what
Yeah,
about you,
that's
Lewis?
Welcome to the MS EMS therapy session. We start the show by talking about our problems over the last 2 weeks, and then eventually we talk about Microsoft products. For me, it was fairly quiet. I had some alcohol, I had some sleep, I had some food, and now we're here. I started a new year in a new role in my company, so I've stepped away from doing project delivery so much and moving into consultancy or kind of like pre-sales. I think I kind of summarized that as I talk about doing the work rather than doing the work. I think that's how it goes. I don't know yet. It's early days.
I saw your new title on LinkedIn, and congratulations with that. It's
Yeah, thanks. It's quite a broad title. I think some people will kind of question what it really means, but what we're here to do and what this tech allows us to do is create modern workplaces. That's what we're here for.
okay. So we could probably have a therapy session for like just talking about work balance. I think the buzzword is right. IT and private
Kinda.
time.
Yeah.
All right. So let's dig into your blog post, and the first one we're gonna get on the spotlight is gonna be you, Eric, and not me. I'm not gonna be the spotlight. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you might think I fell off the face of the earth since the last post was in August, but I was out speaking a lot, and that really took up all my time. But it's been interesting. I've been working a lot in the, I'd say, identity security space, and in trying to capture, audit logs for basically anything and everything you can do in Entra ID. What I ended up finding is, interestingly, not everything is actually captured, right? Or the quality, I guess I'd say, of audit data could vary. And I had some conversations with Microsoft around it. But coming from the world where maybe you're used to working with Active Directory and almost the over robustness of how much log data you can get for stuff going on in AD, it gets interesting when you start to try to look at your audit logs really in depth and really seeing what is and is not captured there. So, and I have a little, it's a follow up to that yet, but I suppose I can't dive into it too much right now. So,
I'm in the same, how do you call it, category as you right now. The one in like a stall moment right now I have in my time of life. I also have some blog posts on the table. I haven't had the time. Work took over, private time took over, and so much news has happened. But I know you've been, this blog post. Do you have some more thoughts in your blog post? Because I see you're doing you're digging deep in this one, the latest one you made.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, right. So, I mean, the company I work for, one of the key things that we do is consume audit data from Entra ID, and really just as we're trying to get down to those deep levels of almost any, right? If you can think of an action you can take in Entra on users or groups or conditional access or really configuring anything, right? Like, I mean, you would expect that there's audit log data that will back up what just happened. And, unfortunately, you can find that things may be audited, but if you actually go look at, what was modified, you can have instances where it's just blank, right? Like if you actually drill into it. And to me, right, that I can see that as a problem from a lot of different perspectives, right? When you really want to have an audit trail of who's done what. So, yeah, I guess I certainly don't want to disparage Microsoft at all in it, but it can be difficult at times, right? Trying to work through these things. There isn't like a schema published out there for what audit logging should look like in Entra, but I think Azure Activity, there's an actual schema for how, data has to be published. And it doesn't seem to be the case for Entra ID. So, hoping keep giving them feedback and they'll continue to improve things. So
cool. Yeah, there's a lot of things that can be improved all the time, especially when we are the ones actually working with this all the time. So we see all the biddies and nitties and details that we could see could be changed. And that's also why you're probably the MVP, right? Having some additions to the community, you want to have some changes, talking with the product groups, etc., etc. Yeah. So thank you, Eric.
I just heard you said he's the MVP, and I'd agree with he's just the.
He is Eric. Yeah, nice. There's a lot of MVPs out there. So next one on the spotlight is gonna be you, Martin. And let me just put up your blog post. And the latest one you have made is the one Win RE patching round 2. All right.
Yep. Okay. What can I say about that? I mean, I usually do endpoint stuff. So about exactly 12 months ago, I wrote a little script that allows you to modify WinRE. And it also allows you to extend the recovery partition. And as it turns out, that was a really good idea because a lot of people liked it. And well, this is round 2 of that because exactly 12 months later, Microsoft found another issue with people using the recovery partition to bypass BitLocker. So what did I do? I made the script a little better about 2 months ago, but that wasn't for this specific patch. But still, I kind of had to explain to people what kind of situations they could run into, because the recovery partition for the longest time in Microsoft, or Windows history rather, was at the beginning of your partitions. If you go to the scenarios, for example, the very last one, that is hard to fix. And my script cannot really fix that because you cannot extend a partition that is at the beginning of your partitioning. And right now, if you have Windows 11 22H2 or 23H2, and you try to apply the cumulative updates and your partitions look like that, they would just fail. Because the patch doesn't do anything for the size of your partition, and if you don't have enough free space on the partition, it just fails. So for those operating systems, your cumulative update for this month just fails. Yeah. People are
Okay.
not happy with that right now.
Because I remember every time I've made a server, I always make the C drive low on storage to have the data storage be bigger. But
Yeah,
it's also like the IT.
Sorry, for virtual machines, that's still really common, because there the C drive usually gets expanded over time because it needs more and more space. So having the recovery partition at the front that makes a lot of sense. I don't know how they will deal with that. I have some thoughts on it, and I written them down in that blog post. But yeah, it's not a good situation to be in right now.
Okay, so great blog post, and probably also some suggestions to Microsoft if there is some kind of focus on this one. I believe there is, and you also put extra focus on it, and that's awesome. Okay, so the last one on the spotlight, that's gonna be you, Lewis.
Hello.
Hi. I've seen
There we
that
go.
you made your latest blog post, right? Didn't you make
Yeah,
a new
just on
one?
the right. Yeah. So with the approach I take with blogging is I don't write about stuff that it generally is written in Microsoft documentation, or that 15 or 20 other people have blogged on the same day of a feature being released. I find it boring to read. I find it boring to write. A lot of my time is spent speaking to people who work in the managed service industry, so IT providers, and being in one of those as well, I try and get people to think about the approach and the tools that they use to serve their customers, or how our customers are working on in sometimes in bigger IT companies, in departments. Sometimes we are kind of like the extension and just provide some professional services to internal IT departments. So I try and think, what are they using? How are they doing it? How successful is it? And why aren't they using more of the Microsoft stack? And a lot of the reason for that is they simply don't understand it well enough, or they've been sold a product for every problem that they have, and have just failed to read Microsoft documentation. Now, with RMM, remote monitoring and management, I don't see that technology or that product can really exist for that much longer. I don't think, because what we really want is devices patched and maintained and policies pushed to them remotely. That's what Intune delivers. We aren't currently there on patch management for third-party applications, but we know it's coming, and there are some very good third-party vendors that already do deliver that. So that in that particular blog post, what I talk about is RMM vendors who, in say 2004 and 5, came out and sold a version of endpoint management because Microsoft had nothing for it. It was all on-prem, and this was the solution for remote monitoring and management. The world's moved on a little bit now, and people should start thinking about what they actually want to see from RMMs. There's the bit you've gone on to, it talks about scripts. So a lot of MSPs who kind of insist on running daily scripts, clean up tasks, functions. I don't really understand why we're doing that on Windows 11 these days. If you're having to run a daily script, something is broken. Fix it, is my view. And that's what that explores. It's just trying to get people to look at their tech stack.
The first thing I think about when you talk about daily scripts is also remediations in Intune.
Yep. If under a certain condition something happens, run a script. Yeah. And we've actually I used Andrew Taylor's GitHub for that. He's got a really good proactive remediation for fastboot. We all know that fastboot can or may be turned on and off by certain services or perhaps updates. His remediation is great for that. Again, it's built into Intune.
Okay, cool.
I mean, you know how long my workstation has been installed, right? I don't get it either. This machine, so my machine has lived since Windows 8.
Yeah.
And I've just upgraded it all the
Oh,
time.
really?
Yes.
That surprises me. It surprised me. Why would you not? My head couldn't deal with that. I would need to have a clean start.
I switched the CPU 3 times and the GPU 3 or 4 times as well.
Can you do me a favor and just do a clean build this year at some point?
No.
Please?
That's a duck.
That's a duck. The other duck, unfortunately, just fell down that had the logo in front of it. Otherwise, I would have used that.
Is it that low?
It's
Show
that
some
duck.
kind of animal.
Yeah, that is a good addition.
Or was it that one?
It's the blue one. Yep,
Okay.
got the blue one.
What is your animal, Eric?
Oh, I've got a flipper here somewhere, but it's buried under everything you can't see.
Okay, so that's all good, and thank you, Lewis, for introducing your blog post. I see what you want to put some spotlight on. So let's move on to the subjects we have for today, and the first subject is gonna be about Microsoft Intune Enterprise App Management, and here it is. So, a little bit of introduction to app management. We all know the headache of updating our apps and managing them.
Patch management, hooray.
Yeah, especially updating. Because if you don't update, you per default get vulnerabilities because the vendors have updates to patch their security, but also new features. It's the same with Windows. You have feature updates, you have security updates. But for some reason, there haven't been like a real app management for cloud management devices in some kind of automatic way. We have seen third-party vendors, as we all know, right? We can mention Patch My PC and probably multiple others, right?
Yeah, just for to make things fair, let's name some other services that are doing this. So you've got Patch My PC, which is quite popular within our circles. You've got RMM software like N-Central, ConnectWise Automate, or Continuum RMM, or whatever they're calling it these days, Ninja One. So there are services doing it. Some of them.
I'm gonna drop a number here. 75% of all of those solutions use the Cheflick catalog that is now owned and run by Ivanti. So even if they sell they sell it as their own, but in reality, it's usually that behind the curtains.
I never knew that. It's interesting to know. And manage engines.
You know now.
Well. Just to point, there's no kind of like vendor favoritism. It's just there are other ways of doing it.
So I was just thinking about when I was thinking about application management. I just mentioned the feature and quality updates, right? So in apps, it's usually that you have one update that both includes new features and security fixes. Isn't that right? Usually, when you update, it's like one.
I'm trying to think of software that doesn't do that. To be honest,
yeah.
Like there's never two. I don't think so, at least. But this being one of the main features for the Intune suite, I really wonder how good of a first throw this will be. Keep in mind that next month was around the same time. Oh yeah, don't think you can zoom into that by clicking on it. No. That's not how that works.
Happens every week.
Yeah.
Every time.
I made like a video on Twitter with Wickworld about zooming on these tech community blog posts. It's yeah.
It's I don't know why they do it.
to break this down, the idea is that your core line of business apps that aren't Microsoft apps usually, so we're talking like Cisco WebEx as is in that list, 7-Zip, Adobe Reader, that kind of stuff. The future is I'm able to tick that and apply it to my endpoints and users, whichever suits, and that will automatically stay up to date. That's the goal with this product, right?
Yes, but I'm going to make an educated guess because look at Windows Update for Business's driver updates. Those updates, they took a very careful approach, as in you can do automatic and then just have some other drivers that you need to approve.
Yeah.
Or you do the whole thing manual, where you have to approve everything. So you do the work, basically. And I think they are going to do something similar with this. Like, okay, you have Adobe Reader. We're going to show you this is available as an update. You still need to do the action. You need to prove it. Maybe at least assign it once to some group. But at least you have to somehow mark it off as, hey, this is now approved. Please roll it out.
So this is quite interesting because I wonder if they're doing that because they haven't actually got a robust way internally that they're testing these apps are safe, and they're relying on us seeing the version number and have done that testing before we roll it out. So if there's a bad version, like I will name Patch My PC again, I speak to these guys a lot or more often now. Their process is they've got automations to download the new app from the vendor, they do internal testing on it, do hash checking, virus total checking, and then it gets deployed.
Scroll down. Just scroll down, I think, 1 or 2 pictures. There's an example. Yeah, this one. I mean, hard to read, but basically this is exactly what I just explained. So it will show you the app, and there's a column that says update available, yes.
So,
and that basically makes you, hey, I need to approve this if you want it. There's no auto approval, at least not from what has been shown so far.
Yeah, it's kind of putting it in like a staging area for you to go every single. I'm happy with this one. I'm happy with this one. I'm happy with not like a select all update.
Yep.
Yeah, which is kind of annoying. That's what I want. I want to set and forget.
I'm also thinking about. I also just heard you say that testing. Do you remember the little into when you did in Win32 app? There's like this option to do like a sandbox installation test.
Is that still
I don't.
There is a button in Intune where you can like test your Win32 app.
There is an implementation to TestSpace, yes.
Yeah,
but TestSpace is an additional product.
But I'm just thinking open here. Like if they have that set up, I could imagine they will put some kind of automatic things in to test the application that is inside the catalog to test the application in one way or the other.
Yeah, or at least give us like a disclaimer box and just say, you can auto approve them, but it's like totally on you to test. Or it's not Microsoft's responsibility if the latest version of 7-Zip looks completely different or does things to the system that's not intentional.
But you know the expectation that customers will have, because remember, this is an additional paid feature. So you know the expectation people will have around this.
And this is probably why there's been, in the sort of 7 or 8 years Intune's been kind of usable, or even before that, if we look at SCCM days, Microsoft have never had a solution that does third-party patch management. It's probably because of the liability around it. There's so much on them that could be expected. They're only now just doing it because there's such a wide market that's spawned because of it. There's a lot of missed revenue by not having this now.
Yeah, it should be like a set and forget. What I'm also thinking about is I hope that now when they have the threat vulnerability management system, I hope that Microsoft is going to do some kind of automation with the CVEs that is being recognized on the app, and there's some kind of testing that is fixed inside the app in some kind of way, so it likes goes a little bit fast
the
between
vulnerability
recognize.
management in Defender, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly
so
that one.
taking data from that, and if an update in the app management can fix the vulnerability, it will auto patch it, maybe.
Yeah, but think about how the integration of those two
Yeah,
products
the
is right
two,
now.
again, there could be two different teams. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to happen.
Yes, it's the best that is going to happen is what's happening right now with the where you can create a case that will show up in Intune at a place nobody ever looks.
Yeah. I mean, for the UK market, and we've talked about this a little bit before, lots of businesses try and get the Cyber Essentials accreditation, which requires all applications in use by end users to be updated within 14 days of a patch release. We just want something that does that without us having to do manual intervention.
Yep, absolutely. And it's the same with there's what's it called, NIST 2,
Mm-hmm.
I believe. So security standards have been raised within Europe anyway. So that's going to be real fun for a lot of companies within the next few years, because that clearly states everything that has CVE and there's a patch available, you need to patch it. End of story. There's just no discussion around this.
Have they given timelines on that?
So you mentioned 14 days, I believe.
Yeah.
I have not heard timelines. However, basically C-level will be held liable. And that's usually a really good driver to get them to go to their IT department and basically say, you do this, I don't care how, here's money.
Yeah.
And that usually works pretty well.
In order for me to go to Miami this year, you must patch our systems. It's essentially the line that's going to be told through the business.
Right. Federal Office for Information Security. Sorry, I had to look up the German name.
Yeah, that's a whole article about applications, on
Yes.
applications. So
Yep.
I think it's this one.
Yes.
I'm on the right one.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's that one. It went into effect 2 years ago, and the first 2 years were basically only the really critical infrastructure, and now, beginning of this year, even more different company types get added to the critical infrastructure. So even stuff like a lot of retail companies, a lot of shipping companies, a lot of even garbage collection is now critical infrastructure, which is, there's just so many companies that are now critical infrastructure that they really need to care for this.
From a commercial standpoint, though, if this is the way that Microsoft are basically saying that people should update their third-party apps, you can't just buy that service. You have to buy the Intune suite. And so if you're going to do that, you'd need teams to do more
there is
with
a
that.
price, but there is a price, as you can buy the add-on, but it's, in all honesty, it's way too expensive. Like don't get me wrong, but for what it is, and probably will be for the first time around, it's as an add-on, it's not going to be price-wise.
I've not looked too much into like the bolt-on requirements. Like it's going to require some kind of base license, right? Of maybe Business Premium and then E3, E5.
You need at least a Plan 1, which is included in basically everything.
Yeah.
And then you're eligible to buy the rest of the add-ons that are in the suite. You cannot buy anything that's in the Plan 2 separately. So Plan 2 is just Plan 2, end of story. But every little thing from the suite you can also buy.
It's the same with the Intra ID P2, P1 and P2. I'm just thinking, Eric, what about, I know you work a lot with identity, but what is your thoughts on patch management and in general, like just in a, with this new product coming in and doing like a set and forget kind of thing. And I'm just thinking about,
I came from thinking back when I was in the enterprise and in PubSec. I mean, I like to set it and forget it, even though occasionally you'd have fallout. But I think it's always a challenge, right? Because when something goes wrong, who's on the hook. Over here in the States, at least where I was, we tended to be more cautious about disrupting our users, even though there's probably a security cost to that. I mean, it's. I mean, I think if you look historically, right, it's something that has always been and continues to be a problem, right, with patch quality, and we'll feel like we've got something good going, and then some patch will come out, right, and you're on autopilot with it, and next thing you know, everything's blue screening, and I certainly don't have. I have a lot of opinions on it. I don't know if I have any good answers though, but.
I'm also thinking it should be as awesome as you said also, Lewis, with the set and forget. That just reminds me of so many other things, like with the identity protection in Entra, right? So when you're in a specific user risk or sign-in risk, some things happens with the engine. It should be the same with this, right? With patching.
The patching stuff, though.
Yeah. Remediation of anything, pretty much. So, any last thoughts on Intune Advanced App Management?
No, I just wish Danny good luck.
And the last thing I want to just say about it is that I just saw that it's gonna launch. The plan's gonna launch in 2024 in February.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
I hinted at it earlier, but I interrupted myself. Yes, in February is going to be when the feature is going to be released. Prices are probably not going to be around until March, from what I know.
Okay, and it's also crazy to see that they have the data on 78%. I can recommend these reports, by the way. It's they're pretty good.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, it says that 78% of devices remain unpatched the last 9 months after a critical vulnerability fix was released, and that's also interesting. But that's probably data they also get from the vulnerability management they have in Defender. So let's look out for this one, which is gonna give us even more time to other things. So next subject is gonna be. Oh, I remember this one. I forgot this one. That one. Boom. There we go. Okay. Next subject is gonna be Copilot for small businesses, or expanding Copilot for Microsoft to businesses of all sizes.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. It's the AI. The AI is here, whether you like it or not, and it's everywhere, and it's now available to everyone. So it now looks like anyone could buy Copilot for if you've got some of the qualifying licenses, and even if you're one seat, as long as you commit to 1 year of it, and you can start using
it. That's a
it
little bit of caveat, right?
Say that
commit for 1 year, right?
Yeah, it's a
You need
commitment.
to commit for
It's a 1 year commitment. You can't just buy it for a month. But I've already seen a lot of people just buying one license just to see what it does, because they have not had access to it yet.
Me personal have not had access to it either. I haven't moved around with it at all. Haven't played with it, but it's an opportunity, right? I'm really interested to see the Copilot for security. Like that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's doing more now. When I first saw Copilot, it did differ quite a lot from what the demos were showing. Now you can actually go into PowerPoint and ask it to make a PowerPoint on something, and it will generate a couple of slides and designs and put text on it. So it's definitely getting there, and it's going to be big. I think Microsoft opening it up to as many people as possible is an attempt to get as much revenue in as possible, because it's cost them a lot of money to get this to work.
And a lot of money to keep it running.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a reason why the Nvidia stock has gone through the roof. Jesus, I wish I could time travel 3 years back. Holy hell.
But I see it on my page as well when I go into my purchase services on the admin.microsoft.com. billing stuff, I can see it in there. It's available for order. And unless you have a partner, you can probably also make a good deal with them. But yeah, it's out there. What are you have any thoughts on the Copilot stuff, Eric? Because we had an episode about Copilot and AI.
Yeah, I mean, I was not on that episode. I've tried using AI some to do some simple things that I've gotten very mixed results. I think the security Copilot stuff, which is what I'm going to find more interesting. My concern is how accurate it's going to be, or what it's going to look like. And I'm trying to recall, because I know at Ignite they had the sort of show, right, of like, here's security Copilot kind of being used in some instances. But I don't know. I'm kind of holding my opinion until I actually see it and get to look at it myself. So the M365 Copilot, I mean, as someone who has my own one license tenant for my email and everything, I'll probably buy it just because it's the same price as whatever the fancier Chat GPT is, and maybe play with it some. And but I don't know. It's a lot of money to ask for an enterprise.
Isn't it weird? And that's a question for the group here, that they basically didn't do a Copilot for Intune, but rather integrated that into the security Copilot. I'm still kind of confused about that decision. It's why put it in there?
Because Intune is a security product. Maybe.
Sure. I mean, if you talk to some of my colleagues, they will say the same. It's a tool to enforce our security. So yes, you're right. But then again, I wonder if it's going to be in the advanced endpoint analytics or something, at least a little. I don't know. It's just, I found it weird to have that.
I saw a demonstration of Intune, like Copilot being used with Intune, and I was kind of worried at the results, because you can only, and this is from the demo I saw, you can only ask what a policy is doing right at the very end of policy creation. There isn't currently a way to bring up that window just in Intune to ask it questions about policies. Not that I could see anyway. Maybe I might be wrong now, but I just feel like if you're about to make a policy that, I don't know, turns storage sense hydration levels to like 2 days, and you're asking what that does at the point before you hit create, that is way too far in the process.
Yeah, you're right. So basically having intelligent suggestions around the settings would be a thing. Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea, especially considering that a lot of the tooltips are empty.
Or out of date.
In the settings catalog. Yeah, or out of date.
They don't take into account the new feature versions or the updates.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think on a broader sense of Copilot for M365, we are going to see some pretty major PR disasters in the next couple of months with how this can be used. I think we talked about this last time, but it will reveal information that people didn't know they had access to, and that's going to cause some problems.
Yeah, I hope that, like this one down here with the data protection, it's only in the Copilot Studio. That's the one I heard a lot of concerns about, all of that, which access it has and gets. But I'm sure there's some white papers you can read, because I know that Microsoft used some knowledge, some approved frameworks for AI. But we all know with the frameworks, you can always bend and do whatever you want to do with them in a way. But yeah, all good. It's a new product. It's coming out soon for small businesses. Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people are gonna get a lot of good effort out of it and get a long hand. I said, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna clip that one out. Okay, I'm clipping that one out. Good. Oh yeah.
But yeah,
Looking forward to it though. I think there's certainly cases where I've been writing documents or proposals or something where it would be nice just to get it to within the app just challenge me on this point. I mean, what I'm doing at the moment is using ChatGPT 4, the paid version, and just sticking it in there, obviously without any client data in it. But I find that ChatGPT 4 seems to be a lot quicker than Bing Chat Enterprise or Copilot.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't had that much success with the Bing Chat. Like, it's slow.
Yeah.
Question, maybe for the group as well, because I'm probably the person that has played around with it the least. I mean, I do use something not Copilot for translation of texts and overall writing. And it's not something like Grammarly. It's from a German company. But regardless, Copilot, does it eventually learn your style? I mean, I know it does for emails because they promote the hell out of it. But that is, to me, the most interesting thing about it. I don't want to feed it all my mails. I want it to learn as I go along. Basically bouncing back and forth between its suggestions and my corrections on it. That would kind of be my expectation on this. Not just because I write my mails vastly different, depending on if I know the customer or have known the customer for years, or if I write to somebody who's getting the first mail from me. That's a completely different writing style. So
yeah, and as you just said with data, like I just see here, like the sophisticated map of all the data and content of your organization, and hopefully,
maybe it would take into consideration the number of times that you've had emails from these people, and it can kind of learn.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
A bit like the first contact safety tip, right? That turns off after a certain number of emails.
Yeah, I also seen some videos about it, which is pretty cool. That when you write emails, it's gonna learn how you write, and it can make an email that sounds like you, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, so you can feel like a rock star.
You could be the MVP when you write your emails.
And I know that Microsoft is also not a shout out. I know Microsoft is searching for MVPs for AI. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's
Copilot MVP.
Yeah, it's a hot subject. It's something that's gonna be here forever. It cannot be taken into containers again in some way or the other. It's out there, right? We're gonna have we're gonna have some, hopefully not any days. What is the movie called? Not Rambo. It's the Arnold Schwarzenegger. What is it? What is the movie? Terminator. Yeah. But cool. Maybe at some next episodes we have more experience with the Copilot stuff, and we can dig into some kind of use cases and test it out. Okay, so next subject on the line. I forget using this one, but there it is. Next one is going to be into Cloud PKI.
Can't wait. I can't wait.
So as we all know, with the introduction of Microsoft Intune Suite, a lot of new products are going to come into that one. And as we also just saw with the app management, advanced app management, it's going to be in February 24. So any thoughts on the Microsoft Cloud PKI?
A lot, but I would really love to hear Eric's opinion on this.
Honestly, I have not kept up on Cloud PKI since I've been working on it. But I mean, anything that can get rid of ADCS and on-prem PKI infrastructure, I'm all about. So I'm curious, actually, Martin, if you or Lewis or Jonas have been up on this, like what it's all about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much.
Like I can see some great use cases like email securing with SMIME. Could be one of them. Code signing could also be one of them. Yeah, so getting rid of your on-premise PKI infrastructure, your CA.
I think that's the biggest one, isn't it? Like it's another thing that people had to maintain on-prem. That now goes away.
Yeah. It's one of those things. So all three features that will be added to the Intune suite will make it so that the price is really worth it if you get the suite.
Yeah, and if you're using all of it, right?
Yes, and the cloud PKI, I think people don't realize how easy this is. I mean, I can't say all of it because I need to be kind of careful around this, but a little tiptoeing, it takes 5 minutes to set this up. And you can bet that Microsoft is going to set this up way more secure than you would ever be able to do it. Like, no, there's no way.
No, yeah, there's like a bunch of documentation on setting up a CA, and also we can also connect to the NDES server, right? You guys been setting up the NDES software on a network derived.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, like setting that one, I did it for a customer. Like I did like 10 or 7 setups, I think it was.
Yeah, because for every template you need one server. It's annoying. It's incredibly annoying.
Yeah, and just by working with the CA at that time, like just by looking at this one, like this overview, it's like, not that I'm working in operations today, that I work with CA all the time or certificates all the time, but going to the management software on a server and looking for the certificates, it's like you have, there's also one pane of glass. It's still out there, right? Have one pane of glass that you look into and you can see everything about your infrastructure.
Now,
I mean, and it just has me thinking of how, no offense to all the admins of most installations of Active Directory certificate services out there, but you need to be so into PKI to secure one well, and there's so many vulnerabilities out there in ADCS that yeah, just anything to make people be able to trash that stuff is
I hear petit potam.
yeah. Yeah.
The most common vulnerability there is for ADCS.
But that's I think is one of the biggest issues right now, is finding expertise on the subject, right? Subject of experts on PKI. It's almost impossible.
I think isn't that largely because most admins wear many hats, and the security hat is always on no matter what they're doing, and PKI is just one of the things they have to do because, there's a new app or a new CRM they need to help implement or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have as many orgs that roll out PKI, right? Because they need to get stuff done. We need to sign things. We need to issue certificates, right? Roll it out. We'll secure it later, and you know how that tends to go. So
there's the March date, by the way, that I was talking about, which is why I said it's probably going to have real prices at the beginning of March.
So $2 per user a month.
Now here's the one caveat around not just this, but also the advanced app management. All of this is user based. That doesn't always fit the bill, and I really wonder how they are going to deal with customers that have a bunch of shared devices or a device that is a kiosk device and have like a couple hundred of them. And how are you going to license these? Because they also need certificates somehow.
Yeah. All of this user-based licensing also starts the discussion about how is your infrastructure in an overall overview of it. Which one is actually should be a real licensed user? Which one should have access from where and from what? it starts a whole nother discussion that's been going on for a while now because of the user license based.
And this is only going to make it worse. I'm certain
because
of that.
when we think about it, when you have a PKI, it's like you don't need to think about how many users you have, right?
Exactly.
You have the PKI, but now you need to like really think about, okay, who fits the bill? Like you said, Martin. I think you said fits the bill, right? So who should be the users we should license for? So it also started discussion that you need to be, how do you say it in English? You criticize your own thoughts and choices in a way. You be a lot more go into detail about it. Who should actually have this license to accomplish something?
Yeah, we'll see. I'd say we'll see about that. But yeah, the Cloud PKI itself. There are 2 other products on the market right now that are in the same vein from a German company of all. And I think if this is somewhat as good and better integrated into Intune, it's probably going to very quickly take the market because the price is almost the same.
Okay, and that is going to be the last thoughts on PKI stuff, and let's to the last subject. Okay, guys. So next one is gonna be about device bound passkeys. I feel like I spelled that wrong, but
No, it's all good.
No, you have it right.
Okay,
That's fine.
it's good. It's good. So I think it was you, Eric, or Martin, who actually shared with me a link for the admin center. It was Martin, right? Good pointing, Martin. No, Eric. I'm gonna put you up here. There we go. So Eric, you did it.
Yeah.
Eric, I did it.
But I actually found that on Twitter today from Jan Baker, and would say I think it's a long time coming. I know Martin has some thoughts and opinions on
I do.
passkeys or FIDO2 keys, but I think I'll just say it's good to have choices, right? For organizations to have more choices for phishing resistant authentication, right? Which is a buzzword, passkeys buzzword, but it's all actually right. We are due to be able to actually secure how users are authenticating, and I mean, I kind of study phishing as a hobby, and right, for all the fanciness we can do in XDR systems and EDR, right? There is nothing better to protect you against phishing than having strong phishing resistant authentication. So I like having the choices.
Yeah, and if you think about these device bound passkeys, also mean that you can have one device that authenticates on your device, on your mobile phone, and on a PC if you needed to.
Yeah.
That is amazing, to be honest. I mean, yes, I do have some concerns around this, but that is how do I translate that correctly? It's a German sickness that many users do not have a smartphone, and if they do, they don't want to use it for work. Not at all, not even for something like this. So FIDO keys or security keys or whatever you want to call them in the future, they are not going to go away. I'm very certain of that, and the companies making them won't go out of business anytime soon. But yeah, it's a great addition. Just like the web sign-in with Windows 11 23H2, this is an amazing addition. I really love it. The only thing we need that's still missing is the pre-provisioning of keys. That's still...
I just have some kind of comments to that one. So the thing about with the personal devices and passkeys and all about that with personal devices in general, I always say that our only task is to secure our company and secure our data to get access to the company. And the thing we also have is the terms of use and the contract with HR that you can always have written in that there is some kind of acknowledgement from the users and stuff like that to get to in your when you get as an employee when you start at a company. So I'm not a lawyer. I have no idea how it works in lawyer words, but I think there is some kind of way that you can actually make some demands in some way or the other. I
Well,
think it's
you're completely right. You can write in your employee onboarding contract, if you take this job, you may be expected to use a personal device in order to authenticate to work systems. If you don't agree, don't work here. Like it's really simple, and a lot of this discussion around authentication is a people problem. If you buy people YubiKeys, they're going to lose them. If they lose them, then use your personal phone, which are less likely to lose. The only question I have on this is, I'm not sure. How does a phone become a passkey? Is it as part of the MS Authenticator app, or is?
So, well,
now the tiptoeing begins.
Yes.
Okay, so we don't actually know what it is, or we don't know what it is. It's just they're telling us something's going to happen.
something.
I'll just say no.
Yeah,
I'll say no comment.
I can say a few words on that one. So with my my wording, so something is gonna be saved on the website you're accessing, and something is gonna be saved on the device. So every time you access this is like for not in the technology wise of documentation, but that's the understanding of it I had in my mind.
Yeah.
You have something stored in your unique on your device, and you have something stored on the website you want to access. So this device has these keys that it shows to the website they want to access to, and if the website says, okay, this unique code that you're showing us matches up with something we have as well that is unique, it gives you access. That's my understanding of it. So something is saved on the device.
I wonder if it's going to be.
Go ahead.
I wonder if it's going to be like scan the QR code to continue or something. I don't know.
In,
I don't know.
In Denmark, we've been using passkeys for the last, I think it is 4 years, I think, for around 5 million people. I know we have a generation of older people that still uses the, how you can say it, the old, you have a device that shows a number or a list, a document that shows numbers that you match up with something else.
A TAN list.
Yeah, so the same understanding of that is just made technical. Does that make sense? Easier.
I'm sure it will when it all comes out.
I mean, I think if you look at, I guess I'll say, if speaking outside the Microsoft ecosystem, that right there's syncable passkeys, right? So if we aren't talking about Enter ID and stuff, right, I could go set up a passkey on my iPhone and it will be synced to the iCloud, and then I could use it on my iPad or something, and the same in the Android ecosystem. And then you see, I think, like 1Password or LastPass or one of them, they also have like an authenticator app that I think their thing is to bind the passkeys into their sort of own ecosystem, right? So if you install 1Password on your iPhone and 1Password on your Android phone, it can synchronize between those things. So yeah, I mean, there'll be stuff on the device. There's so many different scenarios, but I think one thing with the passkey bit or using your mobile device, right, that is important is and the bit escapes my mind, but there's sort of two different ways sites can implement FIDO. And right, one of the issues with physical keys is there is actually a limitation, right? They may market them as like unlimited, keys you can store, but depending on how the site implements WebAuthn, right, which is what's sort of handling the website side of things, right, the keys themselves may only be able to store 25, 50, 100 sort of relationships on them or whatnot. So but I'll get off my soapbox and say I think that ultimately having the choices is what's you're going to help drive adoption, right? Because before we had passkeys, everyone was worried about losing their FIDO2 keys. Right now that we have passkeys, everyone's back to the I don't want work to put stuff on my phone sort of complaint. Right. I mean, our users will just have a problem with whatever we try to ask them to do. So
Yeah.
Oh, but they will never go back from passwordless. That's for sure.
yeah.
That's a one-way street.
Yeah.
I'll say in a way also that if you don't want to use your personal device, you most people have also written down their own passwords on their personal devices, so they already save something on their personal devices in one way or the other.
Well, I mean, the personal device thing I think is funny, right? Because people always want what they want. Like they're like, I don't want work to MDM manage my phone, or I don't want work this or that, but I want to read my work email on my phone for my own purposes, right? Like, and to what Lewis you were saying, yeah, I think in a lot of commercial places, it certainly fits to sort of make people use their device. But I know at least in the U.S. government, the federal and down in the states and stuff, that with unions and everything, you can't demand that people use their phones, and sort of like what I think with Martin's talking about is having to essentially offer some alternative to people. So
Yeah, probably.
And this also fits that I know, Eric, you've been at a conference a while back, right? When you also had I'm looking at your blog, by the way.
Oh yeah, no.
And I can see you were at a conference of talking about everyone is all in on passkeys. There's a little section about it. I'm sorry if you can't remember it, but there's like yeah.
Oh yes. I wasn't speaking about it, but I think I blogged about going to Identiverse, and there was a lot of stuff about passkeys there. I was trying to consume. I'd actually love to go to what is it? Authenticate, which is in the fall, and it's basically a FIDO2 or a FIDO Alliance conference. But yeah, at Identiverse there was a lot of content about passkeys there, and a lot of like more in the consumer space, though, I'd say, like hotel chains and stuff like that, talking about their experiences in deploying them. But I think it's good, right? Because having people using them for consumer purposes hopefully will help drive workforce adoption, regardless of what it looks like. So
yeah, it's a way of selling the story, right, for the company. Yeah, it can't be hard, but yeah, it's in the consumer area. It's going all in, as it usually starts with. I'm not going to say that normal users are testers, but they are in a way. That's not how it is. But passkeys is based on the Video Alliance protocols, which is many IDPs, big IDPs, are a member of. So it's based on knowledge from people that is really, really knowledgeable. So we can trust the passkeys. So great stuff. I'm gonna end it all on that. We have been through all our structures for today. And is there any last comments on the last minute?
Please fix the cumulative updates. Thanks.
All right. So thank you, all of you guys. Thank you for coming in and having a talk with us. We already talk for an hour. It's incredible how fast the time goes. So see you next time, and bye-bye.
See you then.
Thanks all. Goodbye.
Bye.